as far as the pregnancy itself on me, the last month basically was spent, the last 2 weeks were spent on solid bed rest, as in I get up just when absolutely necessary. And the 2 weeks before that were just restricted activity, which was better than what I was told at the beginning. I was initially told bed rest by 18 weeks, and I made it all the way to about 26, 27. So physically, I've got some probably lifelong physical damage from the pregnancy, but that was also a little to be expected. It's hard to make room for 3 at once.
How was the birth experience and postpartum?
The birth experience I was just so relieved that it was that day. I had been in labor for 2 weeks. 2 weeks with these guys with preeclampsia, like blood pressure, on various different medications to slow or halt the labor progression so they could stay on a little bit longer. I had an injection of a surfactant-like substance that basically helps their lungs develop really fast when it's looking like we're getting to the end. So in order for that to work, they had to stay in for a certain amount of time. So it was about 2 weeks of contractions every 90 seconds and in and out of the hospital. But luckily we live very close to the hospital, and I got to go home in between visits, mostly. The delivery itself, it was crazy. There were probably 30 people in the delivery room. There were 3 teams set up. The operating room wasn't even big enough. They had to set up 1 team in the hall.
It's a zoo in the OR, because at Dominican it's kind of a small OR, and we had to have a doctor and bed for each baby. And so you have personnel for each of those, and us at the C-section, and the anesthesiologist, and the dad, and everybody. It's packed.
There was 20 people in that room taking care of our 3 daughters being born, and watching their nurses and their aides all running around, but no one fighting, no one arguing, and it being done so well and so perfectly, like a ballet. It was pretty awesome.
What was it like living with babies in the NICU?
It's a lifestyle. Living with babies in the NICU is a lifestyle, and it's one that pretty much only another parent could understand who's had babies in the NICU. It's hard because it's their first home, and it's also it's your kids, but you don't get to take care of them. At least the hospital we were at really encouraged parent participation in caring for babies, but we also had another child at home. So I had my 2-year-old at home and 3 babies in the hospital, and it was a lot of going back and forth. I mean, we would get up and be at the hospital for the doctor's rounds at 7:30 in the morning, and back and forth all day, and then we would leave the NICU at probably midnight and come home and sleep for a couple hours and go back. So it was a lifestyle.
You go in, and one day there's another wire off. There's another monitor down, and you start rooting for them more and more and more. Then you get to the point where they can come out a little bit, and you can start holding them, and you start to know the nurses on a first-name basis, and they become friends. Some friends you may not like it sometimes, but they're doing the best they can to help you and your children.
How do you care for triplets? What is a typical day like?
The best thing that we have discovered is routine. Always schedule. Staying up.
Makes happy babies.
Yes. That's why these guys are so relaxed. 90% of the time is just because we have a schedule, and
they know what's happening.
They know what's coming next.
Yeah.
For anyone that's heading in this direction, plan. Always plan your day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will make yourself crazy, which happens very quickly.
Yeah, the few times we've tried to just wing it, it's nobody's happy.
No. And when one melts, the 3 melt.
Yeah, by 3 we mean 4.
Do you have any advice for parents expecting multiples?
Prepare the best that you can, but know that you won't know what you actually need or what you want until the babies get here. I mean, I had taken a class at the hospital that was preparing for multiples class, and it didn't serve a good purpose with me other than to stress me out about how I was going to handle all 3 babies. And then initially we had hired a nanny to start a couple months after the babies were born, and when they finally came home from the hospital,
Charlotte, come over here.
come here. When the babies finally came home from the hospital, it was the last thing I wanted was someone else coming in and taking care of my kids. So we did get help, but we got help in other aspects. We got help, around the house and at work, but as far as the care of the children, I did not want any help with that. And we do just fine. Just the 2 of us.
Make the changes you need to make as soon as you possibly can. Don't try to do these things while you're home with the children, moving or anything of that sort. If you feel in any way you need to move, do it. If you need to find a better place to live, do it. Remove as much stress from your life as possible before these kids get here. And your life will be not a lot easier, but a lot more harmonious, I guess it would be. But definitely take time and figure out what you need to do. And moving was one of our necessities, as was buying another vehicle. So make sure you have money set aside in any way for when these kids start coming. It's expensive, but it's so rich in life too. Take care of yourself.
Andy and Opie live in beautiful Santa Cruz, California, and are the owners of a local tattoo parlor. Built and opened by the family in 2009, it is a favorite among locals and a destination for travelers.